121 days to the 2023 election. I can't believe this. When I started this, we were at 170 something. Now it's 121 days to the 2023 election. Before we know what's happening, we'll be under 100. Wow. Wow. We really need to sit up and focus. We're almost there. Let's work for Nigeria and get it right, so that in the next four years we'll be like, heave a sigh of relief and just be able to relax and work together to ensure that our country gets the best that it can. We don't just do countdown. Remember, we also read the Electoral Act 2022, and today we are looking at section 34. I almost said 24. No, section 34 of the Electoral Act 2022, and this section is mainly about death of a candidate. You know, life, anything can happen. So subsection 1 of section 34 of the Electoral Act 2022 says, if after the time of the delivery of nomination paper and before the commencement of the poll, a nominated candidate dies, the Chief National Electoral Commissioner shall be satisfied of the fact of the death. It's not that they will just say the person is dead, but you are not sure. They have to be satisfied. Countermand the poll in which the deceased candidate was to participate, and the Commission shall appoint some other convenient date for the election within 14 days. 2. Subsection 2. The list of voters to be used at a postponed election shall be the official voters register, which was to be used if the election had not been postponed. So maybe there's postponement, and then some people now got registered, they now said their names are, is the one that would have been used if the election was not postponed. That's the one that will still be used. Then subsection 3, which has also its own subsection, says, if after the commencement of polls and before the announcement of the final result and declaration of a winner, a candidate dies. You know, this is why they say the law is dynamic. So when you set laws, there are certain things that you don't know whether will happen. You try to make laws for every possibility. But of course, life happens, things happen. There are certain possibilities that at certain times they were not in the law. But when they become, when you see those possibilities happen, you have to make provisions for them in the law. And this is quite interesting. Remember when the election in Kogi State has commenced and people voting were going on, before the announcement of the result, the candidate died, right? So when the candidate, I think that was former, is it Governor Audu? If I'm not mistaken, that was his name. I'm always very poor with names. Before this particular, that was how this present governor of Kogi State was able to come in, and so, because it wasn't done, because there was a lot of argument back and forth going to the courts where they said it's the deputy governor that should have taken over. I think his name was Faleke, that should have gotten into the seat, but rather they now use who was the person that was the second highest in that election. That was how this present governor Bello of Kogi State got in. And so the dynamic nature of law. So when that issue happened, what did they now do? They made provision of that. So now there's a law on that, and it says, if after the commencement of polls and before the announcement of the final results and declaration of a winner, a candidate dies, A, the commission shall be satisfied of the fact of the death, suspend the election for a period not more than 21 days. B, in the case of election into a legislative house, the election shall start afresh, and political party whose candidate died may, if it intends to continue to participate in the election, conduct a fresh primary within 14 days of the death of its candidate and submit the name of a new candidate to the commission to replace the dead candidate. Then, provided that in the case of presidential or gubernatorial or federal capital territory area council election, the running mate shall continue with the election and nominate a new running mate. So you see, if this law was in place when the Kogi incidents happened, this present governor would not have been the one to go in. It would have been the Faleke, I think I'm sure of that name, that would have been the one to go in. But at that time, that provision was not made in our law because nobody really thought about such a thing happening. So that's the beauty of law, and that's the reason why we must ensure that the people who get into the legislative arm of government are actually people with competence, character, capacity, because they hold so much power. The legislative arm of government, it's the bedrock of democracy. They make laws, they have oversight functions, and they also hold executive accountable. So please, as we go to the polls, remember to vote people with competence, character, and capacity into the legislative arm of government. Thank you so much. Bye.